India is taking on China too by calling out its hypocrisy. Several countries around the world are facing a debt crisis. In South Asia alone, 2 countries are in trouble. Sri Lanka is already bankrupt. Pakistan could be next. Both of them owe money to China. So any IMF bailout is impossible without involving China. But so far, China has not moved an inch. It refuses to play ball. It refuses to sign the debt restructuring plans. It continues to block any debt relief, even when the stability of these countries is at risk. India is calling out China's hypocrisy now. Amitabh Kant is India's G20 Sherpa, and he has spoken out about China's role. Listen to what he said. China needs to come out openly and say what their debt is and how to settle it. It can't be that the International Monetary Fund takes a haircut and it goes to settle Chinese debt. How is that possible? Everybody has to take a haircut. What is Mr. Kant talking about? He's referring to the debt restructuring plans. Let me explain. When countries go bankrupt, every creditor takes a haircut, a loss on the debt recovery. But China wants to be paid back every penny. Take the case of Sri Lanka. It has been waiting for a bailout for months now. But Beijing is dragging its feet. China is among the biggest bilateral lenders of Sri Lanka. By the end of 2021, Colombo owed more than $7 billion to the Chinese. That's almost 20% of Sri Lanka's external debt, total external debt. 20% is owed to the Chinese. So China will have a say in the process. And for them, having a say perhaps means dictating terms. Countries like India are ready to forgive some of the debt, but not China. China is only offering to extend the repayment schedule, add more years to the loan. The message to Colombo is quite simple. You can pay us late, but you have to pay us in full. Do you know what that means? It means that the IMF bailout, one way or the other, will end up in Chinese pockets. China is behaving like a loan shark, and this is very dangerous because China is the biggest bilateral lender to developing countries. About 60% of low-income countries are in a crisis. They're either facing a debt crisis or they're at high risk of one. Leaders of the G7 have called on China to help, but Beijing has paid no heed to these calls. Now, India is stepping up. This year, India is serving as the president of the G20, and it is using this position to help other countries, to put pressure on China. Reports say India is drafting a proposal. What does it say? It will call on lenders, including China, to take a haircut on large loans. The proposal will be presented to the G20 countries. A meeting is scheduled for next week. Finance ministers and central bank chiefs from all G20 nations will participate. The Indian city of Bengaluru will play host to this. China has issued a statement about it, and this is what it says. China takes the debt issue of developing countries seriously and supports relevant financial institutions to put forward solutions. It is our consistent stance that multilateral financial institutions and commercial creditors, which hold the bulk of the debt of developing countries, should participate in the debt relief efforts. But on the proposal, China is yet to spell out where it stands. Can Beijing really afford to be isolated when the majority is on board and they back debt relief to distressed countries? The ball is in Beijing's court.